Welcome to Prose from the Underground, coming to you from my basement in northern Michigan, where I read, write, think, and say things. Often I get to talk to someone, but tonight it's just me. I'm doing a monologue. It's also a slight divergence because I'm not going to talk about literary efforts or artistic efforts, but instead the academic essay. I had a previous episode that featured the mighty Benjamin Weatherby, and I hope you check that out. But I want to talk about tonight just one particular writing task that is going on around the whole freaking country right now. In fact, tens of thousands of students are being assigned the argument research essay. Lately, a friend of mine, Helen Reka Klotz, emailed me and asked me about this particular assignment. She teaches over at Saginaw Valley State University, and she is a friend of mine, a mighty teacher, researcher, writer, and I think an institutional wizard, to be honest. So this episode goes out to her and her students who are venturing into these thickets. I want to talk about the argument research essay. Let me start with the last word, essay. What in the heck it is? Any conscientious college student would ask, why so many stinking essays? Here's one way to think about it. The essay is one place for an individual writer to walk carefully through a complicated idea. In other words, the essay is about the walking through of an idea. It's not a declaration of a simple opinion, nor is it, I think, even a quick expression of an idea. That's for punk songs and other cool things. The essay is about the walking through, and it's about walking through a complicated idea for like-minded readers. By like-minded, I don't mean that readers agree with what the writer's saying, but that the readers are willing to walk through that idea. And it's that willingness that is the heart of the essay, especially the academic essay. The idea is the writer is offering up the process of walking through an idea, and readers are willing to come along. That willingness is so important to, I think, the entire sort of humanities enterprise, in fact, in education. That's why it's probably stuck around for so long. In fact, that particular assignment, the argument research essay, has been at the heart of curricula across the country for decades. And I don't think it's gone anywhere. A small note for you historians in composition, for perhaps 10, 15 years ago, there were plenty of people who believed, even I think hoped, that the essay would get marginalized, displaced by other visual and sonic genres. Woe unto them, it didn't happen. And I'm glad, because the essay, as I said, I think does something particularly well, and that element, that quality, is important for all kinds of reasons. Okay, so that's the essay. Let's get into research. Quite often, people say, I've heard students and teachers say, well, that research is about going out and finding information. And that's okay. But we should be careful not to imagine that information is simply data and statistics that might shore up an argument. That's such a small shard of what research is and what it can be. Instead, I encourage you to think about research as seeking out what the Greeks called the doxa, D-O-X-A. That is the shared opinions, beliefs, principles, precedents, philosophies, etc. surrounding a topic. In other words, the cultural atmosphere around a topic. And good writers can use sources to help characterize the intellectual atmosphere around a topic. In fact, it's a real cool way to get an essay rolling. Okay. The other thing to think about early on in a research argument essay is the topic itself. In other words, how am I going to come at this and begin gathering up sources? I implore you not to imagine the conventional, the common, let's say 5 topics of the day, and then jump on board and offer some position therein. Years ago, when I was doing all this, it was, gun control, legalizing marijuana, welfare, etc. School uniforms was really big back then. I'm sure it's a slightly different top 5 now. Gun control may still be in there. But here's the thing. As a writer, if you have been assigned this task, take advantage of it and write about something that is genuinely at the center of your life. Think about your daily life and all of the complexities therein, all the stuff that you come up against or come into or want more of or want less of, etc. Those too are topics. And as I've told many students over the years, any number of topics have been researched in ways that we can only imagine until we stick our heads into the databases. So, I want to give you a secret, a super powerful strategy for making a research argument essay as complicated and rich and valuable as possible. Here it is, a surefire way to make your essay complicated in the best sense so that there is something rich to walk through. Here it is. As you're out there looking for sources, do your best to find a rich, sophisticated, savvy source that is contrary to your opinion. That's it. The goal isn't to find that source and then hammer it to put your foot on the throat of thine enemies. That's not the goal at all, but instead to bring that source into the center of your essay. Here's how it works. If you found, lucky enough to find an article, a fully voiced article with a nice line of reasoning, or perhaps it's a blog, or maybe it's a report, or maybe it's a newspaper article, journal, magazine, whatever it may be, you will be able to read through a line of reasoning. The writer will walk through different claims or different premises and then substantiate those in some way. As you work through that, you will probably find that some of those claims or premises, if you like that word, have some value, that they make some degree of sense. You might find them sound, and you can in your essay explain that this position that is contrary to yours has some claims or premises that are sound, that are valuable. You can move right along. Maybe you'll find multiple claims in that source that are valuable, that are rich and worthy. But you may then also find a position or claim inside of that article that you find in some ways amiss. It's perhaps not as sound, or perhaps it's less inclusive or less attendant to history, or perhaps it blurs away something important about a sociological trend, or it misses something vital about a particular political position, or mischaracterizes something in some way. In other words, that contrary source, you may find a leak in that, a logical leak, or an ethical leak, or a practical leak, something. You can call that out, and thereby bring your position forward as something that is slightly more sound in some fashion. Or at the very least, what you're doing is you can bring your position forward and show, you can demonstrate literally in the drama of the essay that your position is worthy. And that's the goal. In academic argument, your goal is not to thwart thine enemies, but to simply put forward a position that is sophisticated and worthy of the attention those willing readers have given. Good luck with that. I will say a final thing. Back in the Stone Age, when I started doing research at the college level, before the digital age, you would go to the first floor of a multi-floor library and you'd look at a thing called a card catalog, which is a box with legs, and you would finger through the cards looking for a source that may have something to do with your topic, and maybe you would even have a position that you thought would work. You didn't know exactly because there was no fully rendered synopsis, maybe just a sentence. You'd go up to the 7th floor. There were no stairs or elevators back then, only ropes, and you'd pull yourself up. Find that source. If you're lucky, it hasn't been cut out or smeared with some food substance. Come back down on the ropes, make a photocopy of it, etc., etc. My point is, back then it was a physical ordeal to find a few sources. And it would take a full evening of up and downing. Now, of course, that's not a problem. You can find countless sources quickly. So the problem isn't getting sources, but finding sources that do the most work for you and with you. Good luck with it. See you next time on Pros from the Underground.